Hello, welcome back to Behind the Faders, the live sound channel. Today I want to talk about miking an orchestra, but before we do that, I want to give a big shout out to all of you out there because this channel is just over 3 months old and I'm already accepted into the YouTube Partner Program. Not quite monetized yet, but I'm almost there. And this is all thanks to you. So if you like watching these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button because it's free for you, takes a second and helps me so much. Thank you. Okay, miking an orchestra. There's more than one way of miking an orchestra, and it depends on how many microphones you have at your disposal and how many channels on your desk you have at your disposal. There are different approaches, especially when it comes to violins and violas. I mean, there's not a lot of secrets to miking a trumpet or a timpani. And like I said, there's more than one way. So I can only tell you about my way of doing it. So I'll take you through all the instruments with the most important two mics at the end of it. So violins and violas. Some engineers like to mic each and every single one of them, which of course ends up in a ton of mics. It doesn't really make sense to me. I always try to use as few mics as possible. And by the way, even if you don't mic every single violin and viola, you will still end up with a lot of mics. So it's helpful if you have these little combination boxes that allow you to plug two microphones into one channel. So what type of mic? You will usually use a small diaphragm condenser like this one. Some engineers like to use clip mics. I don't really like the sound of clip mics in classical music because they never really capture the entire instrument and they don't sound very natural. However, having said that, I did a lot of crossover concerts and tours with an orchestra and a rock band. In that context, you need to use clip mics because otherwise these violins will never be able to keep up with these very direct signals of a rock band. You might have seen videos with a rock band and orchestra, and as soon as the band comes in, the orchestra is pretty much gone most of the time. And I had this experience, actually the very first crossover concert that I've ever done turned out to be the biggest that I've ever done, which was the Scorpions with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra back in 1999 at the Brandenburg Gate. At that time, I didn't have much experience, and also I wasn't able to interfere with the miking or anything. I mean, it was a huge event. And I didn't even mix the orchestra because back then, in the analog days, you had a limited channel count on your desk. So there was a guy in a container pre-mixing the orchestra for me and sending me some subgroups. But that was the first time I noticed how an orchestra disappears when the band comes in. And there's a YouTube video about them playing Wind of Change on that occasion, and I put a link down in the description box. Although if you listen to this, I'm not sure if that was my sound in this video or the broadcast sound, so I can't remember. But you can kind of hear how the orchestra disappears even though it's not a very busy song. So much about clip mics. So like I said, I don't mic each and every instrument. I like to mic desks. You could mic the concertmaster on his own, and I did that loads of times, but it never really made sense. So I'm just miking desk by desk by desk. So two people at a time. Now, of course, it's kind of obvious you put a microphone in the center between the two violins, pointing downwards. The problem is, of course, I mean, it kind of works, but you're basically miking the floor with a little bit of violin coming in from left and right. And I learned a different method from a very experienced classical sound engineer, which is this. You move the mic over towards one violin, so that violin comes in louder because it's closer, but you point it at the other one. And that always works really well for me. But you have to remember, if you do that, and look at the picture, you have to move the microphone towards the violin where the bow is moving away from the mic. So you stay out of the bow of the other violin, which is moving towards the mic. And that's a very crucial point anyway, because the musicians will just, if it's in their way, they will just grab the mic stand and put it somewhere else. They don't care. So let's move on to Shelley. I mean, again, it depends on how many mics you have and what type of mics. A small condenser, small diaphragm condenser will still work, but a large diaphragm condenser like this one works better on Shelly. And you can all still mic desk by desk. You don't have to mic every single one. Upright bass, same thing. You can mic, if you have 3 upright basses, you can just put 2 mics in between them. Large diaphragm condenser. What really helps, sometimes, I don't know why that is, but very often bassists have pickups because they also play in bands or something. That helps if you have one of these upright basses on a pickup and have a really direct signal. Then, well, if we come to all the brass and woodwinds, I mean, it's kind of obvious where to put the mic, right? With one exception, which is horns. Some engineers say I always mic the horns not at the horn, which is facing to the back, because it's facing to the back for a reason. And the desired sound is how it sounds in front of the instrument, which is a fair point. I did both. If the horns were in a really loud environment, I would then still mic the horn and EQ it in a way that it sounds like the microphone would be standing in front of it. On other occasions, I mic'd it from the front. It's a case-by-case decision you might want to find out by yourself. Timpani, like any drum, all other percussions, vibraphone, all the stuff, I try to cover with 2 overheads, maybe 3. So I'm not miking each and every section of that as well. And now, the 2 most important mics. An orchestra is a complete sound entity all by itself, okay? Can we all agree on that? So where does this orchestra sound best? It sounds best at the position of the conductor, because the conductor is designing that sound. He tells the trumpets to hold back, he tells the Shelly to play a little bit louder. He makes it sound like he wants at his position. So what I always do is I take 2 large diaphragm condenser mics and I position them left and right of the conductor. And these are my main mics. I try to use these as much as possible before I come to all the other mics. So much for the miking. Next time we will talk about how I handle the mix of an orchestra. If you have any other opinions, comments, leave them in the comment section, please. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section, please. And if you have a lot of questions, then consider booking yourself a coaching call. The link for that is also in the video description. So that's it for today. See you next time. Bye-bye.